Hello everyone, welcome back to Ucode. My name is Omar, and in today's video we are going to see how to build an AI agent using Mastra.ai and TypeScript. So I want to use this opportunity to thank you guys very much for the support and all the love you guys have been showing me. I'm really surprised that I finally hit 100 subscribers after almost 7 years on YouTube. Thank you so much for that, and if you are not subscribed, just hit the subscribe button. Let's keep learning. So as always, we don't waste any time, let's just get started. What is an AI agent? Well, an AI agent is basically your regular AI model like ChatGPT having access to tools. Let's say ChatGPT, right? Then it has access to some tool, right? So let's explain this. Normally when you ask ChatGPT for the time, it doesn't know what the current time is, right? Or when you ask ChatGPT to look at your GitHub repository, well, it can't do that because it is a large language model and it only operates on the data it has access to, right? So the concept of AI agents give a large language models like ChatGPT access or to tools like a tool to fetch data from GitHub, or a tool to make Google searches, or a tool to check the weather or something like that. So that actually makes these AI agents even smarter, adding to their knowledge base. So we already know that ChatGPT is very intelligent and it can do a lot of stuff, right? But what if it can even do greater stuff with tools? For example, handling the entire workflow of customer support, right? Trying to get complaints from the customer and then using a tool to check the customers or let's say transaction, and then looking for the issues and then resolving everything, right? So that's basically what an AI agent is. It's just a mixture of a large language model with a tool. So in this video I'm going to be making a very simple tool. So this tool is just going to fetch data, or just to fetch data about a GitHub repository. That's the only thing we want this AI agent to do. For example, if I ask it, hey, can you please tell me the current status of the the Facebook, the React or GitHub repository, and then I'll provide the link. And this AI will be able to actually fetch data from the GitHub API and then tell me the current status of that repository. So that's basically what an AI agent is. It's just a mixture of a large language model and a tool. This tool is regularly just a function. So having to create all of these and link them together isn't that difficult. But in this video we're going to use Mastra and TypeScript. Mastra is an AI agent or tool used for TypeScript that helps us or simplify the process of creating AI agents and tools. It helps us create multiple agents and then link those agents to work together. For example, we can have one agent to get the geolocation data of an area, and then another agent to look for buildings in that area or stuff like that. Yes. So without any further ado, let's just get started. So I have my terminal here, and then I'm going to run npm create Mastra at latest. That's how you create a Mastra project. You can use npm or any other package manager you are using. Nice. So I'm just going to call it GitHub agent, and then my default here folder, it should be src, and then go on ahead and select any AI provider you want to use. I'm going to use Google because with Google you can get free API keys, so I'm going with Google. And to enter your Google API, you can do that later, so I'm just going to skip it. Also, to install the MCP server, I'm just going to skip that. Let's just wait for it to install all of the dependencies. Oh, great. So now we have successfully created our Mastra project, and it says we should add our Google Generative AI API key as an environment variable. So let's just cd into the GitHub agent and then open Visual Studio Code here. So while that is loading, I'll just go to my browser and grab my API key. So this is the URL for the Mastra documentation. Just go to mastra.ai/docs. Here you get all of the information about what agents are, how to create all of this stuff. So I'm going to explain the essential parts we need, and then from there you'll be able to navigate the docs and be able to create cool stuff. So yes, now we are here to grab our API key from Google AI Studio. So let's just go to Google AI Studio, which is at aistudio.google.com. Just go there or click on create API key, give it a name, select a project, and then create key. I've already done that, so I'll just copy my API key, and that's it. I don't need that anymore. So now we have our project opened up in VS Code, and it's zoom into little. So we have our env.example file here. So I'm just going to paste my API. Cool. So I went on ahead and copied my API key from the Google Gemini Studio and added it into my environment variable here. And then notice that I renamed it back to .env. So now let's open up Mastra and take a look at the folder structure. So you see that we have an src folder that contains all of our code, and then we have on a Mastra directory, and then under our Mastra directory we have agents, scorers, tools, workflows, etc. We are going to take this one by one. Let's start with our index file. So our index file is like the headquarters. This is where you let Mastra know of everything that is going on in your project. You see here we can create workflows and pass it here. We can create our agents and then register them here, and we can create scorers, storage, logger, or telemetry, observability, and all of this stuff. So for now, let's just try to run this and see what we have. I'm going to run the command npm-dev and wait for it to build out. Nice. So now when we go to this URL here, localhost port 41111, we are going to see a UI. This UI is already built by Mastra. This is called the Mastra Studio, and here you can access all of your agents, workflows, tools, and scorers in a beautiful UI without having to build it. And the cool thing is when you actually click on your agent, you see that you get a beautiful chat or UI where you can communicate with your agent. So I'm going to switch from the Gemini 2.5 Pro model to the Gemini 2.5 Flash since it's free. Let's just speak to the AI. So this is the default AI that came from the installation. As you can see, it's able to reply me because I've actually pasted in my Gemini API key. And these agents can help me with weather information. So let's just see what's the weather in Abuja, for example. And then you can see that it's called a tool. You see, because the AI wasn't able to get the weather information about Abuja, it has to use a tool. So now this is what it actually sent. It passed the location I typed to that weather tool, which is our argument. And then this is the result that came from the tool. You can see here that we have a message of fetch failed and the message and written here. So the tool execution failed, but that is not our problem because we are not going to use their own model. So definitely they might be using another API which I do not have the API key for, and then I'm not able to get the information. So with that out of the way, let me just stop the server, clear it out, and now let's create our own agent. So before I create my agent, I would like to create the tool first. Let me just give you an overview of how the tool works. So here is the tool. Where is it? Here, the weather tool. So the weather tool is assigned to this create tool function that is coming in from Mastra, and then in this function we just pass some information about our tool, like the ID of the tool, the description, and then a schema using Zod to define and describe our parameters. So we have our input schema here, which is just the city name, and then the output, the temperature, the fuel light, humidity, and all of these other data. And then this is the main function that actually runs the logic of your tool. So we get the context. This context is what actually comes in from the AI, and you can see here that we have a location of type string, which is as a result of this input schema we define here. So let's just create our own tool here. So we are going to call it the GitHub dash TypeScript. So let's also import create tool from Mastra, and then we are going to import z from Zod. Nice. So now we are going to export our GitHub tool. Let me just switch this off real quick. So this is equal to create tool, and then we pass in an object inside of it. So the first thing we are going to pass is an ID. I'm just going to call it get dash or GitHub. That is the ID, and then what is the next? The description. So that get the information, or just get the GitHub repositories data. Right. So next we need to define our input or schema, which is just result.object of app. It's parentheses. So the only thing we need is the URL of that or GitHub repository. So it is going to be result.string, or we can just do URL dot describe, and then we'll say the URL of the repo, so analyze. That is it. And then for our output schema, we only need a couple of information from the response, because there's a lot of data that is going to get returned from the request, but we only need a small bit of that, a response. So let's just give it a name, a type of z.string, and then stars z dot or z dot. Yeah, let's just do string. and then for now let's just leave it at that, and then define our execute function. So our function is going to take our context, right? Then it's going to do this. Okay, so we are getting this error because we promised to return something like this and we are not returning it. So we are not going to bother about that for now. Let's just remove the return statement here, and I'm going to mark this as a synchronous function, right? So we have our build GitHub API URL is equals to this. Just going to leave it as this, and then we see that our const. Now we need our username from the input or URL. So let's just see our username is equal to our context dot URL, right? Dot split. We're going to split it by the forward slash. So if we have something like https:// or github dot com slash mycon dash or use slash featured, which is one of my repositories. So we are going to have a few parts, right? That is our username, and then const repo is equal to our context dot URL dot split by forward slash, and then we grab the last element. Let's go with the first element here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, or we can just do at context dot URL dot split by forward slash dot length. Make sure we are getting the last element minus 1, right? Nice. So now we have to build out this URL. So now const repo API fetch URL is equal to, I'm going to use this template literal to build it. So the very first thing we need is our this URL base or URL, right? Let me remove the forward slash here so we can have it down there. So slash, so I'm going to put here, and then that will be slash repo slash owner slash the repo, right? So now this is slash repo slash the owner, which is our username, slash the repo name, which is our repo, like that. So now let's do that and then log the response, or we can just try that somewhere. So I'm going to use testfully. So let's go to https //api github.com /repo/python-use, which is my GitHub username, and then slash feature is one of my repos. Nice. So this is the response that we are getting, right? So it has an ID, the name of the repo, and the full name, and status whether it's private or not. And then we have the owner our information here. So we have, like I said, we have a couple of other stuff. So to make things easier for us, let's just define a type. So I'll just come into master here, create a new file, details/definitions.ts. So here I'm going to export an interface, which is our right. So that is basically the only thing we need from the response. So now we can actually adjust our output schema to include that, right? So I'm just going to do it. How did I not in here? So yeah, let's do issues sort on z dot number, right? And then the owner z dot string, the language z dot string. Also, now that I think about it, we don't really care about that. Then we need the full name of the repo, which is what you are going to use as the name. Doesn't really matter. We don't even need this. Yeah, we need description. So description of that z dot string. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's it. Now that we have our repos and the types defined, let's actually try to fetch the data. So I'm going to use the try catch block here. I'm going to capture it as an error. Let's just name it. And then if we have that error, let's just throw a new error. Mastra will be able to undo our error for us. And we'll do fetch data. Cool. So in our try block, our response is going to be await. We are going to use the fetch API to fetch our repo fetch API URL. Then our const data of the type of our repo is equal to await our response dot JSON. Nice. So at this point we are certain that we have our data coming back from the database. Now we can just return it in here. Alright. So for the name is going to be our data dot or name. For the description, data dot description. For the issues, open issues. And for the language, data dot language. For the username, data dot owner dot login. Let's add in a comma. What else? Oh, I added an owner here. Is that what I call? No, this is supposed to be. and then finally start, which is data start with a start. Let's fix this to start by. Why are we still having a okay, type string or no? Which one was it that has? Let's open our definitions. Okay, the description. Yeah. So if there is no description, we just pass in an empty string. So that's or fixes our error. So now just if let me also rename this to the bits of the dot GitHub. So basically our tool is a function that just fetches data about a GitHub repository and then returns that data or throw an error. That is basically what the tool is. So even for advanced stuff like fetching the weather, predicting the weather, or doing other complex stuff, this is basically how every tool starts out. And from here we can create even more function and then use it inside of the tool. But for now I think we are okay with this. So now next we need to create our agent. We have a tool, we need an agent to actually use that tool. We are going to call it GitHub -agent.typescript. So now we are going to import agent from Mastra core agent, and also let's import our tool, which is GitHub. So I believe nice. So now let's export our agent. I'm going to call it GitHub agent is equal to new. Since this agent is a class, just have to use keyword there. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Nice. So we need to pass some stuff. First of all is the name of our agent. Let's call it GitHub agent. Next, our instructions. Right. Next, our model. This is the large language model we are going to use. So we are going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash. I'm going to pass that in there. And on this instruction is basically our system prompt. And use a template. So I'll say let's write our system prompt here. You are a helpful assistant that analyzes digits of Z and provide insights. Yeah, that is basically it. If you want to add memory or stuff like that, you can do that here. But for these agents, we don't need anything like that. If you want to see how that memory works, just come to the master documentations and you can see how to use the memories here. For now, that is all we need. Now we have an agent and we have a tool that this agent can use. Next, we have to inform master of our agent. We just have to come in here and then add our GitHub agent here and make sure to import it. That is basically it. So now I come down here. Now we should run our server. So now we can come back to Mastra Studio here, refresh. And now once I come to the agents page, you can see that we have our GitHub agent here, and then it's using Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it has one tool. Great. You can see that it says memory not enabled, thread messages will not be stored. To activate memory, see the documentation. We don't really care about that. So now let's just say hi. What do you do? Nice. So it says I can analyze GitHub repositories and provide insights. Just give me the URL of the repository you are interested in. Nice. So I'll send it the URL. And you see, it used the tool, it passed the URL, and then this is the result from the tool, right? It passed the URL correctly to the tool, and then it got the information. As you can see, the name is featured, and there was no description to it, no issues, and the language was Python, and the owner is Python, and that is the start, right? So now let's try something more popular. Let's do Facebook / React, and then it's called the function. You see, it says this GitHub repository React by Facebook. It's a JavaScript library for building web and native user interfaces. It has 240,239 stars and 1,048 open issues. You see, we basically have our agent and it's working. And here I don't know why we don't see the name of the tool. Okay, so the reason we are not seeing the name is because we actually passed it as an array instead of an object. So now let's refresh it and say hello. Nice. So now we have the name here. It says GitHub tool, right? And it's able to actually fetch the data. So now let's also modify the system prompt here. What's going on? Oh, let's wait for it. Yeah, now we can just paste in the URL here. Nice. So now we have a summary here, and it's giving us, some useful information. So let's do for something like Git. Nice. So for Git, you see that we have the repository git/git is the official source code mirror. It's primarily a publish-only repository, and you see. And now at the end we have a summary. This is the foundational repository for Git itself, a widely used version control system. Its activity level is extremely high, given its critical role in software development worldwide. The impact of this repository is immense, as it underpins almost all modern software development workflows. So there you have it. That is how you create an AI agent or using Mastra, and you can see how easy it is to actually create your AI model, create tools, link all of them together, and be able to build really cool stuff. So with the knowledge you learned from this video, I'm pretty sure you can go out there and build something even cooler than just a simple GitHub analyzer. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned a thing or two in this video, please do subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like. Thank you so much for watching. Codes out.